Joining us now is Senator Jeff Flake from Arizona. Senator, welcome back to the show. I was actually seated behind you, and I was watching the events unravel last night and listened to the president's speech. Your initial reaction, did the president say anything unexpected? Was there a moment that you enjoyed or were surprised by?
Well, I was frankly a bit surprised that he seemed to give kind of a campaignish kind of speech, just 2 years from the end of his presidency. So I was a bit surprised at that overall. State of the Union speeches, whether it's Republican or Democrat delivering them, they tend to be a laundry list of, poll-tested items that are usually forgotten by about midnight. But the president, frankly, there are fewer of those initiatives like the community college thing, which will be forgotten by midnight. But the rest of it was kind of more of a partisan flair that I wouldn't have expected this time.
So when he talked about these pillars of leadership, and he got to the part where he talked about working with Republicans and his commitment to working with you and what the American people expect, I was listening to what he was saying, and I thought, wow, why not commit then to saying, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put away my phone and my pen. Let's work together. Do you think that was kind of blustering? Do you expect he's going to put away the pen and the phone and work with you, or do you expect this is going to be a lot of gridlock and battles for the next couple of years?
Oh, I think it'll be a battle. There are a couple of issues, trade promotion authority, some element of corporate tax reform possibly. There are some things that we can and should be working with the president on that we can agree on. But I wish, like you said, that he would take away the threat of I'm going to veto everything. And that was kind of the first half of the speech. And then the second half was, well, here's what I want to work with you on. But every time that he would roll out something, he'd include some zinger that was kind of a partisan kind of angle to it. So that wasn't too helpful.
So what do you expect then? Because now without the cover, and this is my words, not yours, without the cover of Harry Reid not bringing things to a vote in the Senate, not allowing some bills to pass, and getting things to the president's desk to force his hand to veto where he says he's going to veto, what do you expect to get done this year on the economy? Do you expect to get a budget passed? Do you expect to reduce or reform the tax laws? What will you do to send to his desk to see what he's going to do with it?
Well, what we really have to do is get back to regular order. You often hear that phrase. What does it mean? It means that the Congress will pass all 12 appropriation bills one by one. That gives us the ability to actually condition the funding for the agencies based on what they're doing. If we don't like something DHS is doing, then we can condition some of the funds. If the EPA is telling Maricopa County we're going to set a dust standard, we'll say issue the rules or you don't get the money. That we can do that kind of thing, and that's really important in the Senate because we still have to get 60 votes for just about anything we do. But if we go through regular order and put the language in the base bill that goes to the floor, then it requires 60 votes to remove something from the legislation. So it's very important in the Senate in particular that we go through regular order and put legislation on the president's desk and then tell him, if you want to veto it, fine. We'll come back again and again and again with it.
Do you believe that work can be done this year to improve the economy? Can you cut the spending? I talked with Senator McCain about being able to, and him speaking from the Armed Services Committee standpoint, that you can fully fund what's necessary, but you can also cut spending by getting rid of some of the waste. Do you see that being possible? And what kind of cuts do you think can be made? What kind of reduction in the deficit can really be made from the Congress's standpoint?
You bet that can be done. Congress has really abdicated a lot of authority to the executive branch simply by not passing appropriation bills, by doing one at the end of the year with one vote up or down, no amendments, and that's just no way to exercise your power of the purse. Just take one example on farm subsidies. That's a biggie. That's billions of dollars a year. We have changed some of those programs, but still the money flows. That's an area where Congress can and should, cut a lot of spending. And those are ones you send them to the president's desk. Sure, he'll threaten a veto, but just like welfare reform in the 90s, you just send it up again and again, and finally he'll be forced to sign it or at least compromise with you on it. And so that's what we need to do in a number of areas.
Now, what has happened in the past, or at least my perception of what's happened in the past, is where Harry Reid's not going to allow things to come to a vote. The president uses the pen and the phone, and it sounds like he's getting things done. done. If you force him to veto some of these things that most Americans believe are necessary, whether it comes to terrorism or national security, let's say, do you believe people will get the picture here that he's not working with people, or do you think they're just going to hate the gridlock and it's just going to be business as usual in the mind of Americans?
No, if Congress passes legislation, continually puts it on his desk, and he continually vetoes it, just like Congress seems to get blamed every time that we come close to a government shutdown, even if that's not how it happened. The president cannot continue to veto bills without the country concluding that he is the one that is being an obstructionist. If there is legislation that can, by definition, get through both houses of Congress, where the people have elected representatives, in particular in the Senate, it had to receive 60 votes to get through, then I believe they're going to conclude that it's the president that's the problem, not the Congress.
Okay, last question for you, Senator, then. In your mind, what is the number one issue that the Senate has to take up and fix or pass to get us moving in the right direction? What is the first thing you think they should be working on going into this next year?
Well, the president did mention, and it's an area that we can work with the president and should, and it's extremely important going ahead, and that's Trade Promotion Authority. That there will be very few Democratic votes for it, so Republicans will need to carry it. But if we're going to have a trade relationship with a lot of the countries in Southeast Asia or elsewhere, and that's extremely important, 95% of the world market is outside of the U.S., then we've got to get that done. And then also immigration. We've got a border bill. The president has made piecemeal reform popular. After years of saying, I'll only take comprehensive reform, all of a sudden he went piecemeal, and so the Congress can do it as well, and we'll have a border bill on the president's desk, I think, within weeks.
I'm anxious to see what he does with that bill as well. Senator, I wish I'd gotten to talk to you last night, but it was good to see you there at the event, and I was really honored to be a part of it. I mean, it was really an honor to witness that. Does it ever get do you ever lose that honor of being in that room, when whether you agree with the president or not, of the State of the Union?
No, I have to tell you, it's there's a lot of tradition and pageantry to it, and I enjoy all of it. It's really an honor to be there, and no matter how many times you've seen it, you never lose that feeling. You really don't.
All right. Well, it is always good to talk with you, and I hope that when you're back in Arizona, when we're all back in Arizona,